Mainstream operating systems like Mac OS and Windows have a built-in firewall that is automatically up and running. Debian and many other Linux distributions do not have a firewall that is automatically up and running when you install the operating system. So, to provide some basic protection and to learn about firewalls in general, without too much hassle, I recommend you install Uncomplicated Firewall. Make sure you have recently updated your package list, and then sudo apt install UFW, Uncomplicated Firewall. And it's done. Okay, let's set up some basic firewall rules. Sudo UFW default deny incoming, and that's going to set up a default rule that denies all incoming traffic. Because this Debian VM is not set up as a server, you don't want it to be a server, and there's no need to accept traffic coming in to the VM. Later on, I will show you how to open up certain ports to allow incoming connections, which will be necessary for certain hacking activities. Now, the next rule I want you to add, sudo UFW default deny outgoing. Yes, that rule will deny all outgoing traffic. And you might think that's a bit extreme, because what that rule does is stop us browsing the web, connecting to the internet, doing anything. But that is exactly the rule that I want to add. And then what I'm going to do is add some exceptions and allow only certain traffic out. So I'm not just allowing anything out, I'm only going to allow out certain traffic. Okay, let's add some more rules. So allow out from any to any port 53 proto UDP. Did I get it right? Yes. I can press up to bring that command back up and then just make the changes I need. So I'm going to allow out from any to any port 80. And I want you to have a think about what these rules are doing. I'll explain them soon, but I want you to have a think first. See if you can figure out what I'm doing here. Okay. And the last rule, a little bit different. Allow out from 192.168.56.0/24 to the same. And that's it. There's still one more thing you need to do to bring those rules into effect. Enable. Okay, brilliant. And we can check on the status and add the verbose command or argument there to give us a little bit of extra information. And you can see that the default rules, deny incoming, deny outgoing, rooted, this is something that you would set up if you were using this system as a router, but that's disabled anyway. And you can see we've got some rules here. I'm going to display those rules again in a slightly different format. Status numbered. Okay, and now I've got numbers next to all of those rules, which allows me to delete them and make changes to them if I want. So what do you think all of those different rules do? Rule number one here is allowing traffic to go out from anywhere. And what you could do is you could change that anywhere to the IP address of your Debian VM, which in my case is that one there. But we don't really need to do that at this moment in time. So the anywhere means any IP address or any IP version 4 address. So it doesn't really matter what the IP address of this Debian host is, sorry, this Debian guest VM is, the traffic will be allowed out, and it's allowed to port 53 on the UDP, the User Datagram Protocol, and 53 is the default port for the domain name system. So actually what this rule allows is for Debian to make DNS lookup requests. The next one down, port 80, and this time it's the Transmission Control Protocol. That is the default port for web traffic, unencrypted web traffic. And it's important to allow that out so that we can access web pages using HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And 443, I'm going to leave that one for you to figure out, but it's very similar. Number 4 here, this is a little different to the other rules, and what this is going to allow, you may have noticed if you know about IP addresses that this is an internal IP address, and this subnet here, this 56.0 subnet, and the 24 basically just means that that 0 can be anything 1 to 255 or 0 to 255. This is going to allow traffic to leave this VM and go to any IP address within this range here, so 0 to 255. And that is going to be used when we set up another virtual machine, a vulnerable virtual machine, and that is how you're going to start hacking. So that rule is ready in place for when you set up your next VM, and we'll get to that very soon. Now, I'm actually only going to focus on IP version 4, even though version 6 of the Internet Protocol is very much here. I'm going to delete those last 3 rules because I'm not using IPv6 at all. So I can go sudo UFW delete, and this is handy if you make a mistake. I can do delete 5 like that. Yes. And because the rules will have moved down, I can do that again. Last time. Let's just double check. Sudo UFW status numbered. And there you go. I've got 4 firewall rules, and that is what I want you to have too. And in case you are wondering how traffic such as web pages or packages that I'm installing get back into this system, even though incoming connections are disabled or blocked, there's a different rule for established connections. In other words, if I connect to a web server, that web server is then allowed to send traffic back to me. So the firewall allows that. Now, it might be worth testing that the firewall is allowing traffic out correctly. So I'm going to start a web browser. And let's perform a quick search of the web. And yet it's working absolutely fine. I do suggest you take a look at the man page for UFW as well and have a look at some of those rules. You may want to try tweaking the rules that I showed you or adding your own. And just remember, whether you think it's complicated or not complicated, it's all relative.